Chapter 433. Registration begins. Kurisu. Since we've brought it up, the one more fearsome is still that fellow from this morning. At only 21, he has already stepped onto the first layer of the spiritual pedestal tier. What's more, by his battle prowess reaches as high as 12 battle stars. What? There was truly someone whose battle prowess surpassed 10 battle stars. What's his name? Xian Ping. Never heard of him. Indeed, never heard of him. According to the information when he registered, he came from abroad. Hey, then that means he's come from the ocean outside the North region. Really? Who knows? No wonder we never heard of him. Some had already reached this place early at dawn. Thus, from beginning to end, they had missed nothing, and knew precisely what astonishing new geniuses had surfaced amid the registration. In truth, some of these new geniuses were not truly that young in years. They had simply, for various reasons, missed the previous tournament, yet at last made it for this one. This was exceedingly common. After all, being inscribed upon the prodigy roll was but an empty name. If one were at the critical moment of contending for precious treasures, who would be willing to abandon the struggle and race all the way here merely to join a tournament? Grandmaster Ling! Ling Han and the others were standing within the queue when they saw someone ahead call out to them, even deliberately striding toward them. Moreover, there were quite a number of them, and they were precisely the few people they had encountered at Falling Moon Gorge. Gu Fenghua, Chi Hualan, Lin Xiangqin, and the rest. Now that more than half a year had passed, their cultivation levels had all reached the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Yet not a single one had succeeded in breaking through to the spiritual pedestal tier. From the look of it, it was not that they could not, but rather that they were tempering and strengthening their foundations. To force one's cultivation to rise merely for an empty title, that would be spoiling things through excessive fervor, injuring the road ahead. How could anyone capable of being ranked on the prodigy roll fail to understand such a principle? How long could their pride last from being listed on the prodigy roll? At most a dozen years or so. Yet they were people who might one day break through to the flower blossom tier, whereupon their lifespans would stretch to 300 years. So what was a mere dozen years of fame worth? How could they choose to gain a trifling advantage at the price of a far greater loss? It's been a long time. Ling Han raised his clasped hands toward them in greeting. They immediately began to converse of recent affairs, and naturally it was inevitable that the talk would turn to the fierce battle in the dark demon forest between the Rain Emperor, Yao Huiyu, and the demonic ape. Anyone would want to be like Yao Huiyu. I will become the second spear master in this world, Xu Wentong laughed. If one could be like Grandmaster Ling and become an Earth-grade alchemist, wouldn't they similarly be famed and acclaimed across the world? Lin Xiangqin laughed softly, her alluring charm overflowing. She and Yin Hong possessed different kinds of allure, yet achieved the same effect. Both were natural, peerless beauties. This fellow and Yao Huiyue are both monsters, only one is a monster in martial arts, and the other is a monster in alchemy, Gu Fenghua said with a rueful sigh. Yet Chi Hualan spoke with utmost seriousness. Grandmaster Ling's talent in martial arts is not low either. All of them were momentarily stunned. They had subconsciously forgotten his martial talent, chiefly because Ling Han's achievement in alchemy was far too dazzling. He had already become an Earth-grade alchemist at the tender age of 17. When this fellow was still in the gushing spring tier, he had already cut down an opponent at the spiritual ocean tier, and now that he had broken through to the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, could he defeat an enemy in the spiritual pedestal tier? Moreover, he was currently only 18 years old. Don't you all worry, I am not going to participate in this prodigy tournament. Ling Han smiled. You nearly scared this pervert to death. If you were going to participate, you would definitely snatch a spot, and perhaps I'd be squeezed out as a result, Gu Fenghua said, patting his chest with an exaggerated look of relief. Grandmaster Ling does not think this prodigy role is worth his time. Lin Xiangqin cast him an enchanting glance, stirring the heart. In truth, she was not trying to seduce Ling Han. She was simply born this way. Without intending it and without conscious will, she would toss out alluring glances here and there. "Ha ha! What arrogant words!" Someone at the side immediately sought to show disbelief. Crossing his arms over his chest, the man wore a disdainful expression. When he saw their gazes turned toward him, he gave himself a thumbs up. "I am Diao Wende from the Blood Flame Valley. If you are unconvinced, I will thrash you all to mush." Blood Flame Valley. No wonder he spoke with such overbearing arrogance. In the North region there were 4 most powerful forces, 1 valley and 3 sects. The single valley was the Blood Flame Valley, which had even produced a genius like Zuo Yuda. They were all young and hot-blooded, thus naturally unwilling to concede, and each shot furious glares at the intruder. Yet Ling Han merely waved his hand and said, "You don't have to lower yourselves to the level of such minor characters." "That's right. Who are we?" "Why should we bear a grudge against this sort of minor character? If we truly meet him, we should just kill him with a single strike." Gu Fenghua and the others nodded in agreement. Yet it caused Shi Wende's face to turn ashen with rage. He had deliberately provoked them because he had spotted several breathtaking beauties among their group. His purpose was naturally to draw the beauties' attention, but he had not foreseen that they would treat him as completely unimportant. "Damn you! Just wait until you witness my battle prowess. I'll see how frightened you'll be then," Shi Wende thought. Yet he restrained himself from acting. Martial artists spoke with their fists. Without sufficient power, whatever one said was nothing but empty words. "It's the turn of the 7 sons of the Ao clan," someone exclaimed from ahead. And indeed, Ao Xinglai and his brothers filed out and arrived before the testing stone plaque. Ao Xinglai and Ao Yuanwei were already on the prodigy roll, and thus automatically possessed the right to enter the actual tournament. Now that half a year had passed, there were actually 3 among the 7 sons of the Ao clan that had broken through to the spiritual pedestal tier. They were Ao Xinglai, Ao Yuanwei, and Ao Jiancheng. Ao Jiancheng was the 7th, yet he had actually surpassed those before him, which was rather strange. The remaining sons of the Ao clan, who did not automatically obtain the right to participate in the actual tournament, tested their battle prowess one by one, and all were assessed at 15 battle stars and above. This showed that though their cultivation levels had not increased in these half a year, their battle prowess had risen greatly. Furthermore, Ao Jiancheng actually possessed the battle prowess of 3 battle stars at the spiritual pedestal tier. He would certainly qualify within the top 40 of the prodigy roll. Of course, this was based on the average battle prowess of the last tournament. This year, it might not be certain. "I and Yuanwei want to test our battle prowess too. Would you mind?" Ao Xinglai asked with a smile to the few people responsible for registration. "Of course not, please." They all nodded. Naturally, they had to give face to the heroes and elites upon the prodigy roll. Ao Xinglai nodded, then said to Ao Yuanwei, "Second, you first." Ao Yuanwei nodded without expression. Ever since he had broken through to the spiritual pedestal tier, he had never been willing to accept being ranked 2nd, and greatly wished to replace Ao Xinglai as the strongest. Yet there was never a proper opportunity, so he would take advantage of this chance to let the latter witness his battle prowess. He drew a long saber from the weapons rack to the side. This blade was forged from level 5 materials, and could absolutely endure the surging might of the spiritual pedestal tier. He gathered his spirit, steadied his breath, and after at least 3 breaths, he suddenly slashed forth with explosive power. Hong! 7 flashes of saber chi surged out, yet together with the actual blade, they cleaved the exact same spot upon the stone plaque, compressing all attack power into an area so small that it burst apart. For such a test, rather than battle prowess, it would be more accurate to call it a test of one's most powerful destructive attack. Under normal conditions, there was no chance to prepare for 3 breaths before striking. If one truly did such a foolish thing, who knew how many times one would have been killed already? Weng, weng, weng. The letters on the 5th row lit up consecutively. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stars of spiritual pedestal, tier of battle prowess. This was very rare, because when one had only just broken through to the spiritual pedestal tier, one would naturally focus on raising cultivation. When would there be time to polish origin power? It was far more natural to leave strengthening one's foundations until reaching the 9th layer. He truly deserves the name of the second son of the Ao clan. That kind of battle prowess would have been 7th or 8th place in the last tournament. So strong. Who knows, he may be able to surpass the eldest son of the Ao clan this time. Hey, if the second son of the Ao clan could improve so greatly, how could it be that the eldest son cannot? Let's see how Ao Xinglai measures up. The spectators all fixed their stares upon Ao Xinglai, chapter 434, Testing Battle Prowess. Dark Angel. Kurisu. Ao Xinglai curled his lip in arrogant amusement and reached to the weapons rack, drawing forth a long sword. Yet he made no attempt to gather breath or settle stance beforehand. Instead, he simply lifted his arm and cut out directly with the blade. Weng, weng, weng. In the same instant, the letters upon the 5th row flared in swift succession. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lights kindled, 5 stars of the spiritual pedestal tier. Yet set beside Ao Yuan Wei, the difference was stark. One had needed breaths of preparation before he could carve out a blow worth 5 battle stars of the spiritual pedestal tier, while the other's casual stroke already carried such might. Between them yawned an obvious gulf. Ao Yuan Wei could not help his expression sinking, and none of the other 5 Ao sons looked any better either. The distance between them and Ao Xinglai was being stretched further and further. Please come here to fill in your information, one of the people in charge of registration said with a smile. Though the other 5 sons of the Ao clan had all participated in the last tournament, they had not managed to enter the ranks. Thus, they would be counted as new entries each year. The 5 Ao sons stepped forward to fill in their information. There would be another test of age later, whereas Ao Xinglai and Ao Yuan Wei were invited into the resting room. Everyone else continued to stand in the queue. Yi, isn't that Yu Kun Lun? A stir rippled through the crowd. All turned toward the disturbance, and there they saw a slender, tall young man appear. A powerful aura poured from him, so incredible it made hearts thrum. But beside him walked another slender, shapely, breathtakingly gorgeous beauty, and she was not suppressed by Yu Kun Lun's overwhelming aura in the slightest. Not only did standing at his side fail to make her pale, rather, the contrast made her shine all the more brilliantly. Who is that girl? So beautiful, my soul is about to leave my body just from the sight of her. She's not inferior to Fairy Jew at all, is she? Pei, that's because you've never seen Fairy Jew. If anyone who has ever seen Fairy Jew sees any other woman after that, they would think that she was as ugly as a pig. Hey, is Fairy Jew really that beautiful? Hearing the spectators' discussion, Hua Yinghan had at first been rather pleased with herself, but the more she listened, the more her exquisite face iced over. For a beauty, what she hated most was hearing that her looks were inferior to someone else. What more when others looked down on her as if she were nothing? Ju Suana, during the Prodigy tournament, I will disfigure your beautiful face. Let's see how you will be beautiful then. She thought venomously. Yu Kun Lun strode forward with great steps. His cultivation at the 9th layer of the spiritual pedestal tier was deemed invincible among the present younger generation. Merely his aura was enough to make one collapse. As long as he had not yet broken through to the flower blossom tier, he was still mortal. Crossing that threshold was truly far too difficult. Perhaps 10 years or even 20 years later, he would still be at the very same level he was now. However, for the present, Yu Kun Lun was simply too powerful. As he passed, everyone could not help but lower their heads. First, they were suppressed by his aura. Second, it was out of respect for one who had once stood as the strongest upon the prodigy roll. He brought Hua Yinghan to the testing area, smiling as he asked, "Do you mind if I cut into the queue?" "Of course not. Of course not. How could the first place holder of the last tournament not enjoy special privileges?" "Junior sister, please," Yu Kun Lun said with a smile. Hua Yinghan nodded and drew a sword from the weapons rack. She gathered her focus, her almond eyes gleamed, plainly intending to unleash a formidable move. Originally, with her cultivation at the spiritual pedestal tier, a casual slash would have been more than enough. She would certainly be able to enter the actual tournament. Yet she had clearly been provoked. and meant to stun all spectators with a single feat. After a few breaths, she suddenly sprang forward. Her sword shot out, and Hong, countless strands of golden radiance actually flickered behind her figure, dazzling so fiercely that a great number of spectators turned their faces away. Hong, her strike landed, and the letters on the 5th row of the testing stone plaque immediately lit up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 stars of the spiritual pedestal tier hiss. Everyone sucked in a shocked breath. There was a black horse again in this tournament. Battle prowess of 13 stars of the spiritual pedestal tier. She might even be able to squeeze into the top 10, wouldn't she? Hua Yinghan smiled with pride. Indeed, she was unwilling to concede to Zhu Xuana. What greatest beauty of the northern region, or greatest genius? This time, she had come to drag the latter down from her lofty perch. "Past, please come here for registration," the person in charge of registration hurriedly said. Yu Kunlun smiled and asked, "Do you mind if I test myself as well?" "No problem. Of course, there's no problem." Hearing the strongest person on the prodigy roll who had just left the roll express the desire to test his battle prowess, the spectators all grew excited. What sort of battle prowess would the man who had once been the strongest reveal? Last year, it was estimated his battle prowess had reached 17 stars. Would it now be 18, or even 19? Yu Kunlun very quickly slashed out. The letters on the 5th row lit up consecutively, and in the end, 18 had lit up. 18 stars of the spiritual pedestal tier. This was the strongest battle prowess that had appeared so far. The crowd cried out in amazement. A gap of a single star of battle prowess was enough to decide victory or defeat. So just how terrifying was this power of 18 battle stars? No wonder he had been the strongest on the last tournament's prodigy roll. He was powerful. This was exactly the result Yu Kunlun sought. Though he had left the roll, he still could not relinquish that kind of glory, and no matter what, he wanted to show his presence. After a bout of noise and commotion, testing continued. This time, no more monsters appeared. The majority were mercilessly eliminated after testing. After all, only the top 200 in battle prowess would qualify for the actual tournament. Finally, it was Gu Fenghua and the others' turn. They all stepped forward to be tested, and their results were decent. At the very least, they all remained within the top 200. The most pitiful was Gu Fenghua. After 3 rounds of testing, the first 2 results were not good enough for him to enter the top 200, and only the 3rd time did he erupt with strength. However, he was later forced out of the ranks by someone else's results. There were only 200 spots, and at least 50 or 60 would still be eliminated in the end. During testing, one could strike a total of 3 times. The best result would be taken to avoid the situation where one's nerves got the better of them, resulting in an understandard performance. "I'll go first," Zhu Wuju declared, striding up to stand before the testing stone plaque. He drew out a long sword and employed the 4-season sword technique. When his sword art circulated to its peak, he cut out with a slash. Bright sparks flickered upon the stone plaque, and the letters on the 4th row slowly lit up. 15 stars of the spiritual ocean tier. "Pass. Come here for registration." Zhu Wuju's face instantly filled with delighted surprise. Who would have thought that a year ago he was still an unremarkable disciple of Huyang Academy, and now he could actually step onto the stage of the North Region's Prodigy Tournament. Moreover, he needed only win once, and he would qualify as a genius upon the Prodigy roll. All of this was because of that man. Everything had been brought to him by that young man who was even a few years younger than he was. Zhu Wuju could not help but glance back at Ling Han. He solemnly bowed toward him, his heart brimming with gratitude. He swore within that he would use his whole lifetime to repay Ling Han. Hiss, cold sweat beaded over Diao Wenday's body. He was also at the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, yet his battle prowess was only 14 stars. Kan Yi was second. What? Even a handicap came. "This is the prodigy roll, not the handicap roll." "Ha!" Some unkind spectators immediately burst into loud laughter, yet Kan Yi was not the slightest bit angry. He merely drew a long saber and shua slashed out. Weng, weng, weng. The letters on the 4th row of the testing stone plaque instantly lit up. 15 stars of the Spiritual Ocean tier. His result matched Zhu Wuju's, but that was without considering that the heavenly luck stone within his body had yet to take effect. Thus, if he were even one minor cultivation layer higher than Zhu Wuju, his talent would still be far, far better than Zhu Wuju's. Pass! Kan Yi likewise bowed to Ling Han before heading over to fill in his information. Those who had mocked Kan Ye earlier were immediately struck silent, their expressions turning ugly. Those able to enter the actual tournament were all our astonishing people who could definitely break through to the Flower Blossom tier as long as they took one more step. Was it truly wise to offend a future Flower Blossom tier cultivator? A number of them were already planning to apologize to Kan Ye later. How could they allow someone who might break into the Flower Blossom tier one day to bear a grudge against them? And Diao Wenday's face was beginning to turn green.